Hey, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. Well, we had a great class this last weekend, but we are here on Tuesday and we're doing just the general Q&A. So it could be about conditions, could be anything goes. So go ahead and fire away. Unmute yourself or type
Go ahead, Sandra, then Kathy.
Hi, Greg.
in. Hey,
I really enjoyed your class last weekend.
good.
I'm still trying to absorb all the information I learned.
Yeah,
I
I was
have
a little bit
question.
more I was a little bit more chatty than normal, but I think with all the foundation that we did with some of the previous classes of the previous year and everything, it's time to get a little bit more chatty about some of these things. So
I always enjoy the chats. I learn.
yeah.
My question today is
Yeah.
I have a couple who are clients of mine, and
Mhm.
a man in his 70s was just diagnosed with a hydrocele of the scrotum, and
Okay.
he he went to the urologist, who said that the procedure to remove it would make it painful for a couple of weeks. He would have to not exercise for about 5 or 6 weeks. He's an exercise fanatic, let's say,
Mhm.
and it could come back. So he said, I don't like those odds. Since I have been working on both of them, he asked me what I could do about, if I knew of any oils that would work or any pranic healing. And I have to say, I just have no idea. And I
Yeah,
wondered if you
wait,
did. I know it's tough, isn't it?
that's a tough one. I'm not aware of any oil that would treat it. There might be some herbal things that could be potentially done, but
I was wondering if the fluid, which is causing the discomfort, was the
right.
lymph. I don't know. And
Yeah.
if this, could he use a lymph?
I mean, it's worth a shot that it will work. I mean, it's totally just, sometimes, I mean, but that's the thing. I mean, and this brings up a very good point, is like sometimes with some of these situations is we just start treating and then seeing if it works, if it doesn't work, if it works a little bit, something like that. So one of the things you could try right off the bat, you could try something like maybe cedar and like a base of witch hazel. Like I probably wouldn't put it on meat. I'd make it really strong, but like in some witch hazel, and it shouldn't cause too much irritation or burning. Because like even like if it was a liniment and alcohol base down on that area, especially the crease between the leg and the pelvis, just that little area in between can get a little bit irritated. And there's even been times where treating something like down in this area, instead of using like witch hazel, I'll actually add a bunch of the oil to like baby powder and like kind of stir it up, and then you could put it on with baby powder.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how well that would work for this, but I mean, I get it, trying to avoid a surgery, and like the thing with what the doctor said, whenever the testicles get operated on, I mean, you got to wear tight underwear for a while, no exercise, no flying, there's just a lot of things you can't do for a little bit, because that area, any sort of like pressure or movement can cause like, bleeding, or if there's stitches, can disrupt the stitches, and it's just needs to be, rest for a while. And so, yeah, it's not great. It's not great odds, but at the same time, if it's causing a lot of discomfort, it still might be worth it. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with like trying to exhaust other options first, but I'm not aware of too many things that would work for that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too, but I thought I would ask. They wanted me to ask you.
Yeah, I mean, I would start, the thing that's nice about cedar is usually is not too sensitizing to areas. right? And it's a good venous tonic, which means it helps get old blood out of the area and back to the
Mhm.
heart.
Right.
It is a good lymphatic stimulant. If there are some blockages in the pelvis, it can be somewhat helpful. Sandalwood is usually a little bit better if there's blockages somewhere in the pelvic region, but honestly, I don't know that that would be any different or helpful. And so I would say I wouldn't even go down the route unless you just had some sandalwood that you could do it with. I would probably go cedar. And I mean, like when I make cedar for like myself, for example, like I'll take like about 8 ounces of witch hazel, and I add like 5 mils of cedar. Like, I mean, I make it really super strong. And then, every time you got to shake it up because it will separate a little bit.
Right.
But I shake it up and then I use it as like kind of like a like body tonic kind of thing where I rub it on my legs, on my back, on my arms and neck and everything. And it has a mild diuretic effect, so it does help with eliminating some excess fluid, but it's very good for the circulation. The body feels good, takes some achiness out of the body. It's strengthening to the immune system, very strengthening to the cardiovascular system. And so, I mean, as long as it doesn't cause any irritation on the groin area where the leg and the pelvis kind of meet, and there's no sensitivity on the testicle area or anything like that, I mean, I don't see why you couldn't try that. It probably would take a while. Like, I would say you should, like, if you did it daily, you might start seeing some effects within like maybe a week or two. But like, if you didn't see something in 30 days, it's probably not going to work. Like after 30 days, if it's not working, it's probably not going to work.
Is cedar and cedar wood the same?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, sometimes, there's different cedars that come from different areas, and there's actually slightly different plants, trees that they use. But the cedar and the cedar wood, they're all very, very similar.
Okay.
And so even though they might be a different species somewhat, they still all work really, really similar. Some of them have slightly different properties than others for certain things. But in this particular case, any of the cedar woods, anything like that would work. The only one that I probably wouldn't use on, just because it might be a little strong, is cedar leaf. Is called in some circles, but like we call it thuja here. Okay. And so thuja might be a little strong for the groin area. Like,
okay.
Or at least the dosage that I'm talking about, I definitely wouldn't do that.
Okay.
But any of the cedars should be fine.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Keep me posted on that. I'd actually be a little bit curious.
Sure.
Yeah. With going back with pranic healing, the thing is with sex organs, you really can't even really use like medium to dark pranas too much on that area, because they will turn into like a delicate area just because of them being the sex organs, right? And so I've had many times good results of not even using colored prana on something like that, just using white. And we were talking about this over the weekend in Seattle, is the issue being that sometimes what happens is the vibration of the lighter colors can be a little too high. And so you need to lower the vibration. And here you don't really want to go like too dark. And so white is not as high a vibration as the colored pranas. And it's not got the destructive, like if you were to make it like a dark, dark green, dark orange, something like that. And so I've used that quite a bit in treating issues with sex organs and things, and actually have gotten some really good results. You know, as I was talking, I did have one memory of a situation where I would try cedar. I would still try cedar, but the other one that I would try, and this sounds probably a little just basic, but lavender. I would actually try lavender on this too,
Okay,
like a decent amount of lavender, and it actually might be helpful.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just make sure it's a genuine lavender. You know, you don't want to be putting synthetic lavender down on
Oh, sure.
the private parts. You know what I mean?
Exactly. No, I've already instructed them, get good.
Yeah.
essential
Get
oils.
good stuff.
Don't get them at Amazon.
Yeah. Perfect.
And then go ahead, Kathy, then Letty.
Hi.
Hey.
I have a couple questions. First of all, my last oil order, I got an adjustable hemp coral. I don't know anything about that or what to do, or, you know, in a
What'd
little
you
bag.
get?
Adjustable hemp coral.
The diffuser, the necklace diffuser, the
Just came with my order of oils, so.
Yeah, like so sometimes what we do,
It's
we
like
just
this.
like accumulate
You
like
see it?
little, you know, like swag stuff that we just, when we have it, we throw it in orders until we run out or something. And so that you just put oils on, and you could wear it on your chest without having to have it on your skin.
Okay.
When they got made, they didn't get baked. So like if it gets really excessively wet, it actually is just basically compressed, like kind of clay, like a muddish clay. And so it probably would dissolve if you wore it in the shower. So I wouldn't wear it in the shower. But other than that, you can just put oils on it, and you know, it's a way to kind of diffuse them without having a whole bunch of oil slathered on your chest or something.
Okay, no, it was very sweet and cute,
Yeah.
and I had no idea what to do with it.
Yeah.
So I was curious. Another thing is I've been inhaling the Quiet Mind, and there's an oil in
Yes.
there that I just strikes me. I've smelled it before, so I want to know what's in Quiet Mind.
Let me look it up. Let's look it up.
There's something about it that just I keep puzzling over.
Yeah, I can tell you. Oh, I think this is one I was looking for.
Yep.
Let's see if I can. Give me just a second. I think I was looking for this one over the weekend, and there was. I have about 6 different recipe books that are just always in rotation, and because I have like a development book, and then I have when things get to the point I want them, I move them into a different book, and so it actually makes it less confusing for me on one level, but then sometimes I can't find. Yeah, let me see, where did I put that? That's it there. Okay.
It's like the minute you say one of them, I think I'll know what it is, but I can't place it, and I just.
Yeah, like because somebody was asking about this over the weekend, and I was looking for it, I couldn't find it. I know there is lemon verbena in it. There's black spruce. There is Sylvester pine. But give me one more minute here.
Oh yeah, no, whatever time. I guess it must work because I get quiet thinking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I might have to find this, and we might have to email it to you.
Oh,
'cause
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
It was just something about it just gave me pause.
yeah. I do all these brain dumps, and they don't always catch up. I have to spend sometimes a day or half a day going through my notes to.
Well, you wouldn't see all the little sticky notes I have about oils all over my desk. I'm like,
Yeah, yeah. We'll find it, and I'll get that out to you.
yeah. Another question, I've done work on like leaky gut and stuff, and I use the black cumin for anti-inflammatory, but I got a test back that said I'm not absorbing a lot of my nutrients and supplements. Like, so there's some malabsorption going on, even though the leaky gut has improved. It could be just a matter of toxins releasing, but I didn't know if there's some oil that might help with the absorption of nutrients, I guess, or probably more alleviating toxins, I guess, maybe.
It could be sometimes the like the flora can be off. Sometimes enzymes can be off. Could be the mucous membranes themselves. Do you
Yeah.
have dry mouth? Do you have dry mouth at all? Or
No,
dry
I don't have
eyes?
that at all. No.
Okay. So I would, oh boy.
I mean, my leaky gut's improved so much and I'm off practically all my
Yeah.
medicine. So it
That-
could be just a
that's
matter of
for sure.
toxins getting out and, just the chemistry's off until some of that clears up. But
Yeah. Probably the thing that I would augment with that, like I'd still keep doing the things that you're doing, but I do like one of two things. One would either be rosemary verbena taken internally. That will help with digestion and somewhat with the absorption of nutrients.
like
And
2
then the other
drops
one
in
is to
water
use some
daily.
form-
2
Yeah,
drops. in water
two
daily.
drops in water. Yeah, don't mix it with anything else, just so the rosemary does what it does. The other one, I would probably do the rosemary verbena. But the other one that you could potentially do is some form of thyme. And I would say,
Well, I take
red or
time
white thyme might be a little-
thugenol. Time
Yeah,
thugenol.
okay, so stay with that and then just add the rosemary verbena, because that's exactly what I was going to tell you. Do thyme like probably thugenol or linalool, geranol, something like that. Thyme thugenol I think is really great for long-term use of thyme, and just augment it with taking the rosemary verbena but separately. Even if it's 5 minutes apart.
Yeah, I don't take any of them together, but I wait
Yeah.
a little while because I take about 5
Yeah.
different ones
Yeah.
that I rotate.
So good. I'm glad the leaky gut's getting better.
Yeah, the results of that were drastic, and I'm off my medicine, and headaches. I don't know if you remember, but since I've been joining these, I
Yeah.
complain about headaches. I can't remember the last time I've even taken aspirin. The headaches are
Oh,
like
tremendous. Tremendous,
So,
tremendous.
great
Good.
improvement.
Boy, yeah, that's super good news. Yeah. But like you said, let's get those nutrients being absorbed. Let's do the rosemary verbena. And when do you get tested again? Like in a few months?
I have some tests. Well, this is one of those yearly Genova Nutraval
Okay,
exhaustive
gotcha.
tests, so I
Yeah,
won't
yeah.
be doing that again soon. But I'll do some other probably smaller tests just to check on it. But the
Okay.
key of not being on medicine, because my face pain is practically gone as well. I don't know if you remember, I have the trigeminal.
Oh,
neuralgia.
yes, I totally remember that.
So
Yeah.
I was taking medicine for that, anti-seizure. I was taking stuff for headaches, and all of it somehow has come together. And I faithfully take some oils, and I am like almost pain-free.
Yay. That's
I mean,
amazing.
It's miraculous, really, because
Yeah,
I've had the
yeah.
facial pain for 20 some years. So
Yeah. I had a period where I had a lot of face pain too. And I mean, you just like, sometimes you just get so used to it, you forget how debilitating it is until it's gone. And then you're like, holy crap, how did they do that all those years?
Oh, no, because
know?
sometimes I couldn't even talk. I mean, I'd be in tears, and then other times it wouldn't be so bad, but the medicine was destroying me as well, because side effects of medicine is pretty. One quick question for a friend. She has something
Sure.
called pancreas protease or something that keeps
Okay.
getting low.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what it is, and she doesn't have any symptoms of anything except whenever she
Right.
tested, it's getting low.
Yeah, in my notes, I'll have to find that. In my notes, I know I've treated that before several times, but I don't remember it being with oils. I think it was an herbal concoction.
Okay.
Let's see.
I can send an email about those, that. And the
Yeah,
other
why don't you
oil
do that? Because that one will have to be back in some old herbal notes, and we can get that to you.
Yeah,
You
rather
know,
than
at
taking
least
so much
I think-
time,
Yeah,
I'll just send an email. Thank
yeah,
you.
perfect. So,
Go ahead, Letty, then Miriam.
hey, Miss Lady.
Hi, sorry, I think I just accidentally hit it. So I didn't have a question, sorry.
Okay, no worries.
Well, maybe you were just doing it so I can tell you you're awesome. Thank you for all your work with books.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Then go ahead, Miriam, then Channing.
Hey, Miss Ma'am.
You'll have to unmute yourself. If you need me to prompt, I can help.
Okay, was that
Perfect,
me?
we can hear you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, hi Sam, hi Greg.
Hey.
Hey, I got a kind of a follow-up. A couple of weeks ago, I asked you for a protocol for the plantar fasciitis, and
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I remember.
about a
Yeah.
week, after about a week, it was like really good. And now it's sort of zinged back. It's hard for me to put my foot flat down.
Okay.
It's not horrible anymore. It was much worse.
Yeah, but still, something's up a little bit. So okay, and you still been doing the protocol or no?
Yes, I'm doing the protocol twice a day. I've added the bay laurel. I'm also doing that internally.
Is it a little bit worse in the morning?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I know I aggravate it when I get on the treadmill. But sometimes it feels better when I'm on the
Right.
treadmill.
Okay, so we had you doing lemongrass, we had you doing bay laurel and marjoram, a little bit of vetiver between the toes.
Yes, marjoram, and then cedar liniment.
Doing what? What's that?
Cedar
Thinner
liniment, cedar.
liniment. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
It no longer feels thick to the touch. It's like internal. And
mhm.
I thought I saw a bruise on the bottom of my foot, but I didn't do anything to bruise it.
Okay. I mean, with something like this, like, you know, you're really looking at like, okay, I mean, I look at it like it's a mechanical issue and there's only so many things it could be. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, so you just start going, you know, bap, 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 which one is it going to be? And the thing that I would actually probably like to say is at the top of the list is the skin. And the skin can cause an area not to detoxify as much, especially if there's been long-term like inflammation there, even if it's been low grade. The skin on the feet tends to be like more congested than other parts of the body. And so that's why if it was a different part of the body, I might go into like a different direction, but because it's, you know, your foot and lower leg, I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the skin. And, you know, with something like this, like it responded and then it's bouncing back is, you know, we just go through and start treating things and just trying to make everything right. And so the thing that I would do is parsley. I would do pretty strong dosages of parsley on the foot itself. If you don't have parsley, you could probably do it with carrot seed.
Okay, I do have parsley.
Yeah, let's have you use parsley. And if your skin can handle it, you can even do a bit of a knead application or put a whole bunch of it in like some like lotion or a massage oil and just really get it on the foot and lower leg. Actually, I say lotion. I would almost probably prefer like witch hazel or even like aloe vera. Like, you know, aloe vera is not as penetrating as some of the other things, and it will keep it a little bit more isolated on the skin. And you might get a little bit of a better response from aloe vera, but witch hazel is a pretty solid choice. You know, it's still got the solvent effect, but it's not quite as penetrating as alcohol. It will linger on the skin a little bit more, and so I like that. Like I like that it will linger on the skin a little bit more. And so I would still do the other treatments, but I'd maybe rotate it with just treating with parsley on that whole lower leg, like all the way up to your knee. And all, you know, the liniment and everything else that you're using, you know, treat all the way up to the knee, because some of the issue is, you know, even inflammation up higher. You know, it's manifesting in the foot, but then as a little bit of time goes by, we probably will use a little bit of pepper on it at some point, just for circulation and things like that. But I think it's probably still a little too inflamed for that. Like I would rather see it get a bit more stabilized. Like I don't think the pepper would hurt it. I just think it would be wasted time, you know, wasted therapeutic time. Like with what you're trying to do. So you kind of get like maybe little to no results. So the thing to augment is let's have you add the parsley. And you know, if you want to throw a little helichrysum in there from time to time instead of the parsley, you could, but the majority of it should probably be parsley.
Okay.
Yeah. And then let's I mean, if you start doing that, like, you know, tomorrow or whenever, by next week, this time next week, it should either have a pretty substantial improvement or we need to move on to something else. But instead of doing a whole bunch of shotgun things, you know, we want to know exactly what it's responding to. And so I would say, let's just have you do the parsley like real consistently for a little bit. Because sometimes it's not even in the first application or two where you might notice it. It might take, you know, several applications before you really get it. And so, you know, within a week, you should have, you know, some sort of results.
And a couple of times a day?
Probably once a day. I mean, if you can do it a couple times a day, you're still wanting to do that other routine. And so I would say do the parsley maybe, in the morning, and you can do the other ones at night or vice versa, but like do kind of one in the morning, one in the evening, and just probably leave it at that.
Okay, all right. And internally,
Internally, I would probably augment with a little black cumin. If you don't have black cumin,
I do.
yeah, you could use some frankincense maybe, or turmeric.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, keep me posted like that. Hopefully that should knock it out though.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome.
Go ahead, Jenny.
Hey, Miss Jenny.
Hi, Greg. So class is still reverberating, and I had a question around.
Yeah.
I have a question specifically around red tara and using. Is there a practice, a protocol for using red tara? It caught my attention because it was one of the things in the very last segment that you added for us to use in terms of maintenance. But how do I actively?
Oh, I think
with red tara?
for the class, it was, I think, put it on the soles of your feet.
Right.
But any of the blends that are deities, you can always hold it up to the ajna to like just say, I'm super receptive, conductive to the divine energies that flow through, from whatever the deity is. That's always a good one to do. But then as you go through and inhale it, especially the deities, different things hit different centers, and the deities will really hit the center between your eyebrows or the ajna pretty intensely. But it's like what I was saying in I can't remember, I think it was in the class over the weekend, or it might have been last Tuesday or something. But as you go through and you start unwinding some of the physiology and starting to go deeper and deeper into some of the stronger practices, they actually don't get more complicated, they get actually less complicated. And it's because the body has been prepped. If the body's not prepped, you go do the more intense things, and a lot of times they won't produce a result because the body hasn't been prepped or conditioned, or it could throw the person into a little bit of a crisis sometimes and cause like a little bit. I mean, it's not like a health crisis, it just could be like a little bit of a healing crisis for a day or two or whatever. I'm not a big fan of like inducing a healing crisis. I don't think they're always, they happen, but I don't want to do it like on purpose. I don't think that's super therapeutic. And so the practice with any of the deities is put your awareness on the blue pearl. I mean, it's like when you get down to it, it is intense, I will say. Like if you do it and you do it well, it's intense. And the issue that can happen is sometimes it makes the body expel somewhat. It can make the head a little bit congested. And so if we think that there's some sort of issue there, you'll notice it just because the head will feel kind of heavy. You can use things like basil or petitgrain to kind of clean things up in the brain, or even some sandalwood. One oil that works really good for decongesting the head is cistus, or that blend four lobes. And it's been I think in a couple of classes. It's going to be in a few more classes coming up, including the planetary class, just because the planetary class does do a lot of, has an impact on the blue pearl in the head. And so when you're working with the red, any of the deities, Hanuman, Ganesha, red Tara, white Tara,
Kuan Yin.
Kuan Yin, Christ, whatever it is, they'll have different impacts. Like somebody I think was asking me when we were leaving, there's the blend Padmasambhava. And, Padmasambhava is very will-oriented. And they asked, and I said, it has to, one of the areas it impacts real hard is the throat. And, that's not necessarily a will center, but the will is directed to different energy centers or different parts of the emotional mental body for different reasons. And Padmasambhava is for like disentangling from things from the past, bad choices, bad interactions, bad just whatever it was, things that just hold you down and keep you moving forward. Or an entanglement means basically a diminishing of light, like if you really boil it down. That's pretty much what's happening. And we think we're always being attracted to the light, but in a lot of circumstances we actually, because of past conditioning, get attracted more to the lack of light rather than light, because light implies like a process. And it's kind of what I was talking about over the weekend, where where we have this idea of searching for a state of being, when really it's more about like a process of becoming. It's striving for a state of being is a byproduct of constant bombardment of the sensory information, and you're just trying to manage this thing and go, okay, I want to get to a place of peace, right? And really it's more about trying to establish this flow so that you're not stuck in something, you're not in this sort of kind of entanglement of sorts. And so when you're in entanglement, you know it, because you're just like, you get a little unstable, your emotions are up and down, you can't think clearly. So sometimes we have it in certain areas, and sometimes it's just across the board. And so Padmasambhava impacts the throat and helps you to like disentangle. And so it is still a will aspect, but the part that it impacts is mostly the throat area, because a lot of the entanglements are things that we have attracted, or we don't see the big picture. So we see things in details. We see things in like segments. And so if you think about what Padmasambhava is, Padmasambhava basically came to Tibet to cast out the negative spirits, the demons, whatever, to clean up Tibet, for Tibet to become the Tibet that we know now, But before, Tibet was not a peaceful place. And so you could say entanglements where it's bread and butter. And so, Padmasambhava would be in alignment with that. As far as Red Tara itself, if I remember right, Red Tara has to do with manifestation and
Magnetizing.
yeah. Let me look up what I have written here. I don't have a whole lot written, but sometimes I write things in code to myself. Code just meaning I didn't take the time to write it out long form.
I'm sure Letty can unpack your codes.
Yeah. I have it under a name. Yeah. Because Red Tara is J. Okay. Yeah. Kurukuya. Wow. Looking at what's in it and everything, it is very much it is very cleansing and inner flexibility. I mean, that's bottom line what it is. It's I'll tell you what's in it. It's a really high-end aloes. It's an aloes that I don't even have on the site because it's like it's so expensive. And saffron, golden sandalwood, um, Caledonian sandalwood. There's not a lot of that comes out of Caledonia, and then Indonesian sandalwood. So, not a lot of ingredients, but all of those are super, super cleansing. Like I would say, the saffron super physicalizes the light and the spiritual energy, but sandalwood is considered a very deep cleanser, not necessarily physically, but just like the core of like what holds you back from, like spiritually growing, evolving, being happy, just things like that. And then aloes wood. Same thing. It's about cultivating emptiness and letting go. So you're really talking about a deep release of sorts, very, very deep release. And so, like, for example, we were listening to an audiobook when we were traveling a couple times ago, and they were talking about like on the, what were we listening to? The one about Rama. And so on the, like when there would be a battle, and then after the battle, they remove all the bodies to clean up the grounds from the battle. They would burn large amounts of aloes and sandalwood. And so it's very deeply purifying, especially those low vibrational energies. And so, not that we're in battle, but it's basically really super purifying to low vibrational energies. And we all have this like chaotic part that's part of our primal makeup that is something that needs to be purified and regulated. You keep establishing order in it as you do your spiritual practice. And it is the piece that really resists the higher soul and resists order. And, it's very chaotic in nature. And it's like what Jung calls the id, and it is most likely what the Christians call original sin, coming in and having that piece of that needs to be regulated and purified. And so sandalwood and aloes wood are really super good for cleaning that up. It's over a period of time, but burning aloes, burning sandalwood, using it on the body, from time to time, even taking a little bit internal, whatever it might be, really super good to do. Yeah.
And fantastic. So if I'm working with red Tara, should I not do Alma Simbava at the same time? Just do one? They sound intense.
I would do probably one at a time, just so I mean, you could work both, but I would probably just do one at a time, just so you can see the impact of what it is. And there'll be times where you start drawing on more than one, but it's almost like develop a relationship with it first.
Yeah.
Because we have our initial interaction, we have our initial like response and everything, but a lot of these things are, if you use them kind of consistently over a little bit of time, you really can start to affect a shift or a change. And especially when you start working with deities, pretty much the technique of putting it in the blue pearl is for all the deities, but they're all going to produce something very, very different. And so yeah, I mean, I have a little case with all the deities in them, and for a little bit I was traveling with it, and then I realized, like, I don't know why I'm doing that, because I'm only working with one at a time. It's not like I'm going to pull them out and need 8 of them at once or something. And so I stopped traveling with it. I have one that I'm working with for a while, and I work it, and then at some point I rotate to something different. But yeah, the different taras are quite nice. the softer, the feminine energies or the goddess type energies are very soft, very soothing. And so even though it could be deeply like cleansing, it's still relatively soft. But like anytime you start to see Tara go like into the color of like red or black, it's starting to be a little bit more like will oriented. And so, it's still that goddess energy, but it's a little bit more, still softer, but, but like, for example, invoking Padmasambhava, like in your prayers or something, good to do from time to time, not good to do all the time, because it is creative destruction. It's the will aspect, and it's just too intense for long periods of time. It will cause too much change. You need to let your body acclimate. A lot of the goddess type energies are better for, even here you're purifying, but you're stabilizing, right? And so even with Padmasambhava, the same being is also known as Guru Rinpoche. And Guru Rinpoche, also, or Buddha Meiling, is actually more stabilizing, a little bit more of a love aspect. And so even that same being in the Hindu tradition is Rama. Rama would also be a bit more of a love aspect. So it's the same being, it's just a different facet of that being. Yeah.
Thank you, Greg. It's very exciting.
Yeah. The deity stuff is it's very intense if you just go right to the blue pearl. Like the softer version would be to go through and follow an energetic pattern, but going to the blue pearl, I mean, it's short, but it's intense. And you'll notice that like there'll even be shifts that happen days and sometimes even like a week or two later. All of a sudden you'll have like a little shift and you're like, wow, what was that about? It's because of like doing the practice with the blue pearl. It incubates for a little bit and then it makes the shift at some point. And so that's why consistency with the devotional practice to the different deities or beings is important. Yeah.
Go ahead, Deborah.
Hey, Deborah.
You're still muted. Let's
There we go. I'm just on my phone, so I don't have a lot of real estate here to maneuver. But I'm missing you guys. I real excited about how things have moved through after everyone parted and yesterday, and my meditation is just a lot smoother and deeper.
Good.
Which was really my goal. And then I'm just being observant and aware of any other shifting going on.
I mean, basically we kind of did the mechanics of like, it could be physical, could be for physical healing, psychological healing, but basically we covered the mechanics of what happens when you go through and you do meditation, regardless if it's about sustained awareness or circulating energy or prana through the body or oneness. The mechanics are still all the same. And so where for the level that we're talking about, sometimes the techniques are a little bit different, but calming the physical body, calming the emotional body, the mental body, and it really should allow for stronger meditation, deeper meditation, more expansion, be it if it's outside the body or within the body. It should be quite more substantial. And you should also feel, especially done over a period of time, a bit more like peaceful. So even in times of stress and things like that, you're just like,
Yes, I'm already experiencing that substantially. The contrast of the great deal of stress that I've been experiencing over the last couple of years to now is extreme in a good way, moving in the direction that I would like. But I hear you talk about like the deity, I don't have any of that sort of exposure from your
Yeah,
training.
that's okay.
And,
Yeah, yeah.
and I don't have any of the oils except for what was provided and used in the last class. I live in Sarasota. So
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I'm gonna be there in a couple weeks.
yes,
Yeah,
I'm super excited about that. And
Yeah.
I'm hearing you've already referenced it a little bit. I've never had interest in the planets. And so after hearing you bring so many different facets together of the different faiths and all sorts of influences on our energy, I'm really very curious and eager to hear how you're going to integrate the planets with all of that.
Yeah, so part of what that is it's based on, it's not so much like astrological influences like you would look at, like, you know, what's in your chart or things like that, but we're talking here more, it's based on Rosicrucian principles. I mean, it's from other traditions too, but Rosicrucians did a bunch of writing on it. And so it's like how the days of the week are tied to the 7 classic planets. There is 7 cycles that we go through in a year, and then there's these cycles that you go through. That's a 7-year cycle that you go through different segments of your life. And so each segment has this kind of planetary influence, just like the days of the week have somewhat of a planetary influence. And so when you know the influences, you know the things that are potential issues that might happen there, and then there's issues that you can harness when you know what the energies are. And so the thing, we are going to do something a little bit different than we've done in the planetary class. I'm upgraded it a little bit. At first I was going to make this like part of an advanced planetary class. I was kicking around the idea, but instead I'm gonna actually rework the front part of the booklet, and we're gonna do what I was calling the advanced part, or at least part of it in that. And part of the issue with working with the planets also is being able to maintain different, not necessarily states of consciousness. I actually like to use the term streams of consciousness. And so, like when you're at work and you're flowing at work, that's one thing, but when you're doing your meditation, that's a whole different kind of stream of consciousness and awareness that flows through. And the ability to kind of step in and step out of these different streams it's a very kind of Buddhist way of looking at it. Also in some of the indigenous cultures, they look at it a little bit more like that with the ceremonies and things. And so when utilized like that, it becomes easier to maintain the states, the streams that come through from meditation or contemplation or love, or whatever it might be. But also when done in slightly different orders, it can have a pretty substantial deconstructing effect on accumulated thought forms over a period of time. And so a lot of our thought forms can be from conditioning, from bad experiences, from trauma, from just information from other people, and so by going through and doing some slightly different combinations utilizing the planets, you're able to break down some of the thought forms that get lodged in the body and influence body processes, your physiology, and the psyche somewhat. And so it's even a way of kind of doing a form of psychotherapy, but psychotherapy that's non-specific to I want to target stress. It's more about I want to get rid of the things that causes my suffering. rather than just like stress is this, the other one is like a bigger picture or a different layer. And so you're kind of targeting more like old beliefs, old thought processes, old concepts. And the issue to target those is like, again, a lot of times those come out of a negative experience, or they come from other people that we've just, as we were growing up, we might have integrated them just because of their influence. But a lot of times these principles, these concepts, these ideas that we have were usually formed before the age of 8. And, as a little kid, we were having reactions to the world or to the environment, and we made these decisions. And then, just us being people, we don't really go back and revisit them. And at some point, it actually becomes a little bit hard to go back and revisit them. You almost have to be reminded because of a situation or an incident. And this is a way to, you're not having to like question like the belief or something, but you're just kind of like breaking it down enough to where, something's still going to form there, but it gets to be more current. It gets to be more from what you know now, and rather than just always having the baggage of the past, be it 5 years ago or 30 years ago, whatever it is. And so working with the planets actually has a very strong impact on breaking these things down so that you basically can make decisions. You can create like new upgraded beliefs or concepts that are more current, more accurate, rather than still living by something that you decided when you were 7 or 8 or 12, or in the time of a crisis when you got traumatized or something. And so,
Well,
yeah.
I mentioned stress, but it's really much more just exactly what you were just mentioning is what I'm after with not having to go backwards, but realizing these different ways of thinking that I want to let go of and move forward without focusing on the past. And, that's sort of where meditation calms my mind and keeps me in the moment. Real quickly, I'm real excited. I'm even more excited. I was real excited about the Sarasota thing because I was going to get to meet you, but now I'm excited about a lot of the material you're covering. But so I'm not really sure what else I should add immediately to my little bundle here, because I keep hearing you mention different oils and that I would say let's wait to,
I would say, you just had for jumping in right off the bat, you just did an intense class. And so, you have the oils that kind of come in there, and you're going to get a turnkey kit that will get you through the planetary class. And so, we can, when I see you in person, we can kind of fine tune that when I see you in person, but I wouldn't worry about jumping on too much right now. Like let's see what the class does for you, and then we can just augment it a little bit. That's real super specific to you. But
I don't, the maintenance thing, I don't have that Terra. And
oh no, that's super fancy. Probably hardly anybody has that except for maybe Channing and a couple others. But
what should I be using to maintain?
Yeah, good things for maintenance. And these are just like good bread and butter kinds of oils would be like hyssop is always good. Basil is always good.
But I don't have those. So those are the kinds of things I'm talking about that I need to order.
Okay. Those, and they're not super expensive or anything, but and they would be bigger than those little tiny bottles that you got in the class. The reason those bottles are small is there's a lot of it, and some of those are really super expensive blends. And so, but marjoram is good, basil, hyssop, mugwort. Those are pretty bread and butter. Spikenard would be good. That starts to get a little bit pricey. If there's old traumas, the letting go of the trauma, working past it, like moving past old traumas. Helichrysum is a really good oil to use. It has a lot of good qualities to it, but it's pretty exceptional when it comes to anything that's trauma related. If you need something that's really soothing, tarragon is like if you're just like, you know, had a bad day at work and somebody like, you know, you had a little incident with somebody at work, or your boss is, you know, a yeller or something like that. Tarragon calms everything down really, really quickly. Like it is.
I've been craving
super,
tarragon.
super
That's really
soothing.
funny.
Yeah.
Okay,
Super
and then you
soothing.
mentioned sandalwood
Yeah.
a few times. So is
Yeah,
that
sandalwood
also?
is a yeah, sandalwood's a good cleanser. Probably a little bit more for like, I mean, it does the physical body, emotional body, but starts to be a little bit more for the mental body, preparing the body for spiritual energy, things like that. I mean, you are meditating, so it might be something you want to get at some point.
Okay.
You know, some of the like more kind of classic kind of precious oils are a lot of times used in anointing oils or for meditation, things like that. Sandalwood would definitely be in there. Frankincense is a good way to augment meditation without it being too crazy. Another one that's really good that smells delicious, or at least I think so, is there's a bunch of different kinds of fir, right? There's a whole bunch of different kinds of fir. And then there's one fir balsam, which is used as an anointing oil in the Catholic Church. But there is an even more potent form of that called fir balsam, but it's an absolute, which is, it's a different, like fir balsam is distilled like with steam, and an absolute they don't use steam, they use like a solvent of sorts to extract it, and then they cook the solvent off just to have the leftover material, like, you know, so you would use something like, I don't know, they don't use alcohol, but they use something kind of similar to that. And then they extract a bunch of the material and then they cook off, you know, what would be the equivalent to the alcohol. So it's not left, but you're just left with this material. So it's different than a steam distillation. And the fir balsam absolute, it does this thing where, you know, different oils do different things to the nervous system. But in the nervous system, you know, you have these nerves that flow to different areas. But then there's certain areas where you have these like bundles of nerves, right? And these bundles of nerves, another way of saying that is it's a type of plexus, right? And so, you know, you have several of these like plexus areas in your body. And one is literally in the abdomen, you know, the solar plexus. And so not just the solar plexus, but there's, you know, these plexus, like there's a brachial plexus in your neck, and, you know, there's all these different plexus. Even when you calm down the nerves, sometimes what happens is the plexus itself is very still like kind of agitated or wound up. And so, you know, you might release a bunch of lower emotions, but the plexus itself is still agitated and can even create some of the lower emotions. And so the fir balsam absolute, when inhaled, you don't even really have to direct it. You could, but just by inhaling it, it calms down the different nerve bundles. And when you do that, you're able to be in a deeper state for meditation or higher energies to come in. Your body's less reactive, and it becomes easier to let go of lower emotions. And so the thing is like these bundles of nerves can get agitated just from normal everyday wear and tear. And so you might calm them down, but then you go out and you're at Costco and you gotta go to work and your boss yells at you, and then, you know, traffic's crazy, they all get wound up a little bit again. And so it's one of those things where you're just constantly doing a little bit of maintenance. But this is part of the reason why they use the oil as an anointing oil, is it helps to kind of achieve a state of like peace, and it helps to allow lower emotions. It doesn't really flush the lower emotions out, but it allows them to flush out when the divine energy comes in. So divine energy could be through any of the meditations, or just self-reflection, or sometimes even just in your sleep while you're dreaming, it can happen. And so it's a way to flush things out. Some of the things that we do in some of the classes, we mechanically go through when we make things flush out. But this is even a little bit deeper, where you're calming down the bundles of nerves. And based on some of the things we did through the weekend, it would make it easier for that to happen. If you just took it to a person who was on the street and did it, they might like the smell, but I don't know they would get a lot of benefit, because it's like all these other steps kind of, you almost have to unwind things for a little while for it to really be able to, do something and take hold. And so, cleaning up the lower emotions, going through the different bodies, like the physical body, emotional body, mental body. That's another way of like being able to allow more things to leave. But that might even be one that would be on your list. It's not too expensive. I mean, it's a little bit more expensive than some of the other things, but it's not too badly priced.
Okay.
It's actually quite rare, but it's it's just not a lot of people make it. Like for balsam, everybody's like, there's lots of distillers that do it, but that absolute, there's only one guy that I know that does it, and it's done in a very old school way. So yeah.
I got into this about the meditation, but I keep hearing people talk about physical things. And one of the things that I have that's genetic is I have a tremor.
What is it?
Tremor?
Oh yeah, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And for me, there are some days it's really bad and some days I don't notice it. Would any of these oils be helpful with any of that?
So is it in the face and neck, or is it in the arms, or where's it at?
It's throughout my body. I really feel it strongly in my hands after exercise, or when I'm tired or hungry. People often ask me if I'm okay. They wonder if if I'm about to have a heart attack. I mean, I've had people tell me
you're
that.
starting to have such a tremor. Wow.
Yeah, my hands are just so shaking. It's as if,
Yeah.
it's something where I've been demoted at jobs because people thought I was afraid, rather than it just being,
Oh really? Oh well.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Do you
I've chosen.
digestive issues? Do you have digestive issues?
I do, actually.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay. So I think some of this, sometimes there can be like tone issues with either the sympathetic or the parasympathetic part of the nervous system that can actually cause this.
Mhm.
And so the thing that I would have you start doing right off the bat is there's an oil called Marjoram.
Yes.
And just, there's a couple different kinds. Just get the plain old Marjoram. It's a bigger bottle. It will last you a while. You can put it on topically. It's very good for taking tension and spasms out of the body. It's very activating to the heart. It smells a little medicinal, but it's,
That's okay.
I mean, I think it's a nice smell. But one of the things that I would have you do is just take long, slow, deep breaths with it. And what that does is it helps pull the body out of fight flight. It helps to diminish the over activation of the sympathetic part of the nervous system, which is your fight flight mechanism,
Yes.
and allows for more tone in the vagus nerve, which is a nerve that comes out of the base of the skull and then goes down into like the heart, the lungs, and down into the digestive tract. And by doing this, you're actually over a period of time toning that nerve so that the sympathetic and parasympathetic start to balance out, but your body will start getting more rest. It will be somewhat relaxing, but over a period of time, what we're looking for is more like increasing the tone of that nerve so that it starts to balance out the parasympathetic or the rest and repair mode. It should, over a period of time, improve your sleep. I mean, we'll have to adjust it over a period of time, but you'll be working with Marjoram for a while, you know.
Love
And
it.
so you can inhale it, you can put it on your body. Like if you start to get a cramp in your calf and you put like a couple of drops up on your thigh, like not even on the spot, like up on your thigh, it'll take the cramp out like in, 5 seconds, 5-10 seconds. Like it'll just be gone.
I love it.
Very good for taking tension out of the spine, helping the spine to self-correct. Lots of good things with Marjoram. And so, and the other great thing, not very expensive, really super inexpensive. So I like oils that are have a lot of therapeutic value and that aren't super expensive, because you don't have to really like ration it out or hold back. You can really treat substantially and go at something and produce a result and not have it be a big chunk out of the pocketbook all the time. And so like sometimes when oils are a little bit more pricey, it's like, well, I'll treat, but I'll hold off. Maybe I won't do it today. You hold back because of costs. And like this one is not expensive at all. I mean, it's like the price of lavender. So
Thank you so much. I'm super excited.
Yeah. Look forward to meeting you in person in about a week and a half.
Yeah. See you soon.
Yeah, see you soon.
And go ahead, Marianne.
Hey, Mary.
How
are you?
is Heliochrysum supreme? How, if at all, is it different from Heliochrysum?
It's heliochrysums from different areas and some slightly different species, and so it's a little bit more full spectrum and has all the same properties. You could almost say in some of the areas it might even be a little bit more potent, especially when it comes to the relieving of trauma and when it comes to releasing of fascia. For scar issues, I would probably stick with just regular helichrysum. But the helichrysum, we just acquired an absolute of it as well, helichrysum, which is really hard to find apparently. And I haven't had it for a very long time, but we're actually going to start mixing it into the Supreme as well. And so that will give it a little bit of a different component. Just like it just augments it a little bit. But we're trying to, whenever we do the Supremes, we're trying to get as much of a full spectrum of the plant as possible. Like a lot of times what happens is because it grows in different areas, that the areas will start to have an impact on the plant, and they'll start to develop like slightly different properties based on their potential, right? Like they might have the potential for something, but being at high altitude versus low altitude, or hot versus cold, or or the plants that are growing around it, the plant will start to develop different tendencies. And so what we do is try to take like a full spectrum approach where we get as much of the potential of that plant as possible for when we're doing it. So a lot of times it's 2, 3, even 4 times stronger than the normal plant.
And how effective is it if you just inhale it?
No, it still can be quite good. Like if it's for scars or something, you need to put it directly on the scar. But if you're inhaling it for like trauma, things like that, or even reducing inflammation in the lung tissue, reducing inflammation in the body, getting it in the lungs is pretty solid. But like things like scars and things like that, you need to put it directly on the spot. Physical pain, inhaling it sometimes will do it, but sometimes putting it on directly on the area is a little bit more effective. But you could also do both. Like you put it on and then still inhale, but direct it into that area of your body. That is incredibly beneficial. Yeah.
Okay.
Helichrysum is really an amazing oil for all the things that it can do, especially wound healing and both physical wounds and psychological wounds. It's just it's hard to top it. Yarrow I would put in that same arena. Very good for deep-seated wounds, and then poplar, but then poplar starts to get really super expensive.
Right.
So a lot of with yarrow and helichrysum, a lot of bang for the buck. A lot of
Okay.
bang. Yeah.
Thanks. That's
You're
helpful.
so welcome.
And we still have a few minutes, guys. I'm gonna start going through the chat here. So give me a sec. Would Greg have any oil protocol or advice for dry, scratchy eyes? It is freezing here. I'm very dry and I have a humidifier on all the time, but it's not helping much.
Probably your best bet is Schisandra taken internally. Schisandra is a CO2 extraction. And I'd probably start with maybe 2 to 3 drops. You can work your way up to like 5 or 6, but start with 2 or 3. I would do it at night. It will improve your sleep, but the one of the big properties of Schisandra is it helps to moisten all the mucous membranes in the body. And so mucous membranes get hit pretty hard during the winter time. The other thing that you could always take into, this one would be a little bit of a leap that it might help, it might not. First off, do you have dry, scratchy eyes during non-winter times? Like if it was summertime, would you still have the same issue or no?
No.
Okay, Schisandra would probably be the thing I would do. Yeah. I was going to go on another little tangent, but Schisandra is probably your best bet. And then also just hydrate your eyes. Like that's the thing. Whenever eyes start to dry out, that's when, they start to degenerate a little bit. And so one of the ways to keep eyes healthy is just to put those saline solution lubricants in the eye. Not something that's necessarily for taking the red out or, for irritated eyes, just the basic eye lubricant. It's just eye drops. You can hydrate those. It'll keep your eyes. A lot of times just putting the drops in will improve your eyesight a little bit, just because they're moist. They're functioning a little bit better. But it makes the nerves function a little better. It's just that's always a go-to thing. But the Schisandra is trying to do that from the inside out. Yeah.
And then somebody actually commented that they did it this morning for their itchy eyes and it helped.
Yeah.
So.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, and it will help your sleep. Schisandra is really good for improving sleep and potential for dream activity. So.
Could you suggest a brand of witch hazel since most have alcohol or aloe vera in it?
Yeah. Boy, we buy by the gallon or 5 gallons. So just plain witch hazel. I'll have to look up what I get. I don't know if they make it in small quantities, but yeah, it took us a little while to find witch hazel that didn't have alcohol or anything in it. Sometimes we add a little bit of glycerin and alcohol to the witch hazel here, just to make sure that the essential oils stay relatively mixed with the witch hazel. But the pure witch hazel, yeah, I can't remember the name. I'll look it up and we can post it on something. Yeah, I mean, you might have to buy a big thing of it, but pure witch hazel with nothing else is substantially more expensive than just the witch hazel that you buy in the little containers.
Is Greg going to make any sandalwood incense soon? Not the Japanese brand.
Yeah, it's going to be probably in the next couple of weeks.
Since the deities are in a roller ball, where on the body do we put it?
Between the eyebrows. You could put it on the heart as well, but between the eyebrows.
Or is it okay to do the Schisandra twice a day?
Yeah, you could. If you do it like earlier in the day, because I did that for a little while, and it didn't necessarily make me sleepy, but if I take it like as I'm laying down, man, it knocks me out. So just make sure it doesn't make you too sleepy or too relaxed during the day, but it should be okay. Okay. Anybody have any? We just have a few more minutes before we switch over. So anybody else have a question or anything you'd like to ask before we switch over? Okay. How about we'll just take a few minute break, and then at 7:30 Central Time, so about 5 minutes, we'll switch over for the angel class, or angel study group, I should say. So we'll see you in about 5 minutes.